and some mistletoe. Oh, 1:12 p.m. Central Time. Just found out that Undead Chronic is going to do a little roasty toasty today. Oh, yeah, baby. Matt Walsh, the conservacuck, has a little bit of, well, he's got a piece today on why you should get married, man. You should get married. This is the best thing ever. We're going to let Chronic handle that. 4 o'clock Central Time, United States of America, on Chronic's channel. I'll put the link in here. Hold on. Whoa, where's the link? I guess I'll click on it. You can't. So he's got the music playing already. So this should be pretty much an epic roast. I don't know if Hamster's going to be there or not, but Chronic said, hey, you want to stream? I was like, yeah, sure, what the hell. And are you broadcasting from a pool, though? Does the audio sound shitty? No, sorry, no, I'm not in the pool. Let's see here. The audio sounds shitty. I can fix it. Probably. I think I'm fine. Okay. Is the audio shitty? Oh, I got you. Yeah, you're right. 1 second, please. Let me see.
Oh, okay. All right. Is that better? Yes. I'm sorry. The audio was set up wrong. Now I think it should be this microphone. Does that sound better, Polska? Okay. Is that better? Thumper, I do feel peaceful today. Yeah. Well, I saw your little bit of you had a snow video yesterday, so it's cool, man. So hey, hope everybody's having a great weekend. I'm just kind of being lazy again because I'm really, really good at it. Stone Reapers here. Tom Laundry, Mr. Pliskin, Snaky is in the building. Frost is here. Hello. Screen freeze. Yes, Mohamed. I'm not playing it yet, but it's coming. Yeah. There you go. There's the Hampshire. We all know it. Hey, Polska, are you done work and having a couple of bumps? Are you? Hey, well, I'm glad you're here. Sorry. Anyway, Chronic is going to have a roast today, 4 o'clock Central. Matt Walsh put out a video today about how you evil men should just go off and get married because it's such a wonderful thing. It's beautiful and et cetera. And, well, even if, gentlemen, if all the laws and shit are against you, you should still do it, man. Take one for the team. So we'll let Chronic roast it. 4 o'clock Central. Link was in the thing. SF Warrior. Hello. Working to reply to Matt. You're going to do one too. Well, Thumper, if you feel like coming on, we could do this one together. It's up to you. Gravy Smackers, first time viewer. Someone mentioned you in that video. Oh, well, cool. Thank you. Which video was that? Gravy Smackers. I'm not sure which one. But hey, I appreciate it. Thanks for coming by. Hope you enjoy the show. Now, driving home, then he'll be drinking at 4 o'clock. Okay, well, all right. Well, drive carefully. I don't know if it's snowing up in Chicago. It's actually pretty warm here in St. Louis, like 50 degrees. It's going to rain. I imagine it's somewhat similar up in Chicago. Smash that likey button, gentlemen, just like you're... Oh, the Matt Walsh show. I was mentioned on the Matt Walsh show? Well, that would be interesting. Really? Okay. Or does Chronic have the his streamer is got me on there? Let me look here. Hold on. No, not yet. Well, okay. Well, I'll take it. So he's streaming right now. Well, he's not streaming. He's got the pre-roll. He's got the music up. So yeah, it should be a good one at 4 o'clock. I don't know if he's going to get Hammer on. I don't know if I'm going to get on there, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. Michelle Guevara, hello. Bonjour from France. Yeah. All right. Matt Walsh show stuff. All right, Gravy Smackers. Thank you. All right. So this is the previous day when Matt was talking about Mr. Andrew Tate. The crisis of masculinity is what he was talking about. So let's jump in here.
Today, I want to begin by talking about the crisis of masculinity in our culture, because that is
Okay, well, given this, he's talking about it. That's good. That's
what we're facing. There's an epidemic of confused, directionless, depressed, broken young men. And it's incredibly clear to me that this is rooted largely, though not solely, in a scarcity of male role models.
But it's not females' fault, Matt. It's the men that are running off. Come on now. You're one of those conservatives, aren't you? Well, if those men were just better men, those women would stick with them and get married. And no, of course, it can't be the female fault. Oh, my God. You see, you've got Matt Walsh here, the commentator, but you got people in real power, like the governor of Florida, Ron DeSantis, who vetoed a little bitty little change in the alimony laws in Florida. Well, we can't have that. We're going to piss off the women. Yeah, veto that son bitch. I guess we're not supposed to swear anymore on YouTube. I'm sorry, Susan.
A catastrophic lack of present.
Oh, by the way, this is copyright section, USC code, whatever, for commentary. I can use this. All right.
Devoted fathers in the home. Mm-hmm. This crisis is also driven by, while at the same time helping to create a culture that is deeply hostile to young men, a culture.
All right, well, that's true.
Which seems dedicated to demoralizing them and preying on their weaknesses.
Mm-hmm. And doing nothing but putting the poon as far up on a pedestal as possible. That's right. We live in a patriarchy, Matt, don't you know? Now, in said patriarchy, if it were to play out the way the fembots believe it did, there would be no problems at all with men. Every man in this country, particularly white, straight men, would have everything handed to him on a silver fucking platter. Gotta be careful. Susan's gonna get mad. I can't do that. So every white man who is straight in this country, every white boy who is straight would have everything, absolutely everything handed to him, for the patriarchy is all about keeping white men in positions of power. However, we see that is not the case. You peel back the onion a little bit and you stop listening to the whinging viragos on the side of the fembots, and you might be able to see something a little interesting. We, in fact, do not live in a patriarchy, or at least a patriarchy that does patriarchy stuff. We live in a gynocentric pseudo-matriarchy. Matt, take your blinders off, start looking, start seeing what's going on here. It's been that way for a very long time. The fembot movement, frankly, was over in 1978. Every possible right that actually was denied to women at some point in our history. By 1978, all fixed. All fixed. Now what do they complain about? Well, there aren't enough CEOs that are female. Okay, well, you have the opportunity. Oh, no. It's barriers in the way of an evil white man, a patriarchy. We do not live in a patriarchy. Matthew, pseudo-matriarchy. The female is the most precious, important thing in this country and most of the West. So why do you think their problems are being ignored? Because they're not important in a matriarchy, are they? Go on.
And this problem is very personal to me because I have two sons with two more to be born sometime in the next couple of weeks, if not a couple of days.
Fertile myrtle there, buddy. All right, well, congratulations, man. Good for you and your wife.
Which means I will eventually be sending 4 young men off into this cultural void.
Yeah, but the one difference is that they're going to have their father involved. That's kind of a big deal, right? Yeah.
And so I spend much of my day, every day, thinking about how to prepare them for it. And that is also the lens through which I view the Andrew Tate phenomenon. Andrew Tate, of course, is the former kickboxer turned social media personality who rose to prominence as a voice of the so-called manosphere.
Oh, he's the manosphere, the king of the manosphere now. Okay. Sure, yeah. Andrew Tate, our God. Lord Tate. Got it. Go ahead. He's not just a dude that's loud and makes a lot of noise, markets himself. No. He's our Lord and Savior, Andrew Tate.
With a message directed primarily at young men. And over time, he amassed a large and devoted following within that group, but not really becoming widely known outside of that demo until big tech decided all at once several months ago to kick him off of every platform.
Yes. Yes. And somehow he's gotten even bigger. That's interesting, isn't it? I'm not saying anything about three-letter agencies or anything. One might maybe think it might have been planned. I don't know.
And they did this ostensibly on charges that Tate expresses outrageous and objectionable views, allegedly, which they decided no one should be allowed to say, and more importantly, no one should be allowed to hear.
Okay, so here's the thing. Tate says probably what sounds to a lot of people like some really bizarre shit. Now, he's a P.T. Barnum showman, right? You don't get attention by giving there's a million channels on YouTube. Well, the statistics say that the wage gap and that this is not really happening. Oh, yeah, it's really exciting. They have 10 views. See, message is the same. Tate's out there saying crazy stuff to get the attention of people. Now, I don't agree with 100% of, he's not my Lord and Savior, but he is saying some interesting things. And of course, everything he says that has to do with maybe a female, it's misogyny. He hates women. Oh my, who hurt you? He's got small D energy. Just talk to Greta Thunberg. Right?
But not for the first time, however, the effort to erase and unperson someone only had the opposite effect of making them more influential and more famous and better known than they'd ever been before. I could say.
Are you sure somebody was trying to unperson him, Matt? Or are you certain?
In my case, I'm one of, I think, probably millions of people who, before they erased him from everything, I'm not sure I'd ever even heard his name before.
I saw him. I saw a couple of like pickup things, and he was selling a course and his cars and shit. Excuse me, Susan. Shoot, cars and shoot. But I really didn't pay that much attention to him, to be honest with you. Just didn't.
So I became acquainted with him because they were trying to suppress him, which was a positive result, in my view, if for no other reason than the fact that the censors and deplatformers deserve to have their efforts backfire in such spectacular fashion. So
I'm not certain it was a backfire, Matt. Not at all.
Anytime they try to cancel someone and that person becomes more famous, I'm happy because they deserve, the cancelers and deplatformers deserve to have that result.
Probably count all those people on 5 fingers. There ain't very many. Go on.
Now, the most recent update on Tate is that he was arrested last week by Romanian authorities on charges of sex trafficking. He says that this is simply just another attempt by the powers that be to punish and silence him. Meanwhile, the powers that be say that he raped and sexually exploited multiple women. That's what
then bring the charges. Just that simple. I haven't been following the story. I realized the man was arrested. But if he did these horrible things and he did criminal activity, charge him. Put him before a judge and jury. Instead of just spewing bullshit. Well, this is going to be interesting. I'm going to have to get a beep button, I think.
he's accused of.
Just charge him then. If he's accused of doing these horrible things and there's proof and there's evidence that he did, then charge him. That's the way it would normally work. I don't know what Romanian law is, but if he's done this stuff and he's in trafficking and things, charges his butt.
Now, as for my opinion on the man, I can say nothing about the criminal charges. I simply have no idea whether he's guilty or not.
No, I don't know.
Accusers will have to prove his guilt in a court of law. When it comes to the less serious matter of his allegedly offensive opinions, I would say that some of his opinions are indeed objectionable in my view, though certainly not deserving of censorship.
P.T. Barnum, Matt. Come on.
While some of his opinions are not only correct, but insightful and important. He's a human being, in other words, not right all the time, not wrong all the time. I tend to concur with Ben Shapiro's take on Andrew Tate, as he expressed in his podcast a few days ago.
Yes.
Tate is very often good at identifying some of the problems, especially as they pertain to the situation that men face in the culture. So, for example, here's a video he posted on his Twitter page a few days ago, cut from an earlier interview with Tucker Carlson, And this is an example of the good stuff. Let's listen to that.
Okay, so I guess this is Andrew Tate and Tucker. Go ahead.
Tell us what your message is to young men.
Yeah, so I think that being a man is very, very difficult. I think that men's issues are largely overlooked. A lot of young men growing up today that feel very disaffected.
Yep.
They feel invisible. The agendas that are being forced down their throats are not agendas they align with or they feel affinity to or agendas they want. And I basically just say to men, look, it's a very hard life. You're going to need to get up, work hard, go to the gym. Strong body is a strong mind. You're going to have to reject.
I could say a whole bunch about this stuff, this crap. I don't know. I must have clicked on a website at some point, and now I get video game ads over and over again. And I'm not really even into big video games. They're fun and everything, but this stuff is just weird. This is like Candy Crush weird crap. Susan, I said crap. See, I didn't say it.
Reject listening blindly to everything you're told. Reject the slave mind. Think for yourself. Get a strong network of brothers. Work aside them. Don't tolerate low-quality people in your life, which means don't tolerate men who just smoke drugs and play video games. And try and build and create a reality full of high-quality people in which you can resist the programming that the Matrix tries to influence you with, and grow up truly happy.
Now, that's Andrew Tate's new thing, the Matrix, right? Jedediah Bila, the ginger on Patrick Bet-David's channel. She's got a show. He's been talking about the Matrix and Andrew Tate. And say it's interesting. But what he said there is not wrong. That's exactly red pill type material. Don't believe everything people tell you. Don't listen to what they're saying. Do your own research and find out what the hell is really going on. Can we say hell? I think so.
Now, all that is true.
Yeah.
It's good that he's saying it.
Yep.
It's also enough on its own to get you deplatformed.
That's right. Except if you happen to be a ginger girl or one of the other many women who are taking over the manosphere currently. Hammerhand did a video on that yesterday. Look up the Hammerhand.
You don't need to say anything more offensive, quote unquote, than what you just heard in that clip to earn the ire of the left and of our cultural elites.
But you don't get attention, though, Matt. You know, there's been men in the sphere, so to speak, saying the same exact thing. Same exact for years. Nobody pays attention. Every once in a while, some blade of grass gets a little too high and gets yeeted from YouTube. But it's not very often. If you keep your head low, you can say these things all day long, but you don't get a lot of traction with it, right? Look what happened to our friend Big John. Remember Big John, Matt? Of course you don't. That was a long time ago. Well, Big John had similar views to people in the manosphere. Not all of them are the same, but, he had some interesting stuff. He just got a little bit too big for his britches, say. YouTube didn't like what he was saying because he was being kind of cocky and smart ass, because that's the way you get attention. You know what I'm saying? And he went on some interview. How should we say it? What would be the best, safest way to say it on YouTube? A minefield of nonsense that he should have known. He should have known when you talk to the mainstream media, you're going to get it. And he got it. It was an ambush. Unfortunately, he didn't realize it, obviously, until it was way too late. And it didn't take long. Was it before or after that he got yeeted from YouTube? I know, he's been gone for years. But you don't make an impact unless you get people's attention in the first place. P.T. Barnum. Go ahead, Matt.
But where Tate goes off the rails is in the remedy that he suggests. Now, some of his prescriptions are reasonable and correct. Go to the gym, work hard, build networks, be around high-quality people. I mean, these are all, I don't disagree on any of those counts. Okay, so where do you disagree, Matt? Go ahead, lay it on the table. Which parts of the Andrew Tate message does it have anything to do with women? I bet it does. We can't say anything about the precious women. Oh, my God. They're never wrong. They're always perfect. Pure as the driven effing snow. You know it. Undead Chronic is here. Undead Chronic. Poon Yee Undead. 4 o'clock Central Time.
let's see, 2.5 hours from right now, the Chronic is going to be roasting Matt Walsh to a crispy golden brown. It's going to be epic. 4 o'clock today. YouTube channel is in the link.
Yet he also brags about sleeping with many
it's in the
different
chat.
women. He promotes a kind of ostentatious materialism, saying that the best way to be a manly man is to make a lot of money and buy fancy cars and show off your wealth. He says things like this tweet a couple of weeks ago. He tweeted this.
Okay, here we go.
Genghis Khan had endless women and 200 children as reward for conquest.
So Matt objects when Andrew starts talking about the venerated Saint Female, the goddess. Can't say anything about women because that's the, oh my God, yeah, you spilled your no, not the women. Anything but the women.
I am the most searched man on the planet. I have conquered Earth. I am the highest status male on the planet. Females do not expect loyalty from me. They only expect that of lesser men.
Of course, you could go through and decode what he's saying, Matt, but it doesn't matter because you don't care. But go ahead.
Now, this is not masculinity, an over-the-top, blustering kind of ego, declaring yourself to be the highest status man on the planet. This is a sign of insecurity, not strength. I mean, anytime
Is it also a show, Matt? Is it an act? Have you given it some thought? Is it possible Andrew Tate goes over the top to get the attention? Maybe. Maybe.
anytime you feel the need to announce to the public, especially on social media, how great you are, every single time you are doing that because you are insecure.
Jesus. Oh, God. Guys, am I off in the weeds here? I mean, Tate is putting on a freaking show. And apparently Matt doesn't understand that.
No secure person ever feels the need to do that. No man comfortable with his status feels the need to brag about his status. Worst of all, Tate suggests that loyalty is a virtue of lesser men, which could not possibly be more wrong.
Oh, goody. Tell us why that's wrong. Because if we decode through the tweets, what he is saying is high-value men. They don't have to play by the rules of the current dating situation. It's only lesser value men that have to deal with all the nonsense. All these women did their freaking mile-long list of requirements to go on a date with somebody. High-value men, in Tate's opinion, they don't got to deal with that. Matt, do you understand what he's saying? You might not like the way he's saying it, but do you get what he's saying? I don't think so. Go on.
Any man can be disloyal. Okay? Anyone can be disloyal. Any man, especially if you have
we're gonna harp on that bull crap. Okay. All right. Go ahead.
a lot of money, can sleep with a bunch of different women and discard them. In fact, any man with not a lot of money can still do the same if he's willing to, go out and buy the affections of a $2 hooker for a few minutes. That's
you see, but men of status like Tate don't have to pay for it. They don't have to go. This might be a little bit too much red pill for you, Matt. We might just have to leave you in your little bubble there. Believe whatever you want. That's fine. No problem.
That's not impressive, much less a sign of masculine strength. Real masculinity and also real joy and contentment in life.
Okay, we're going to get the real masculinity and the real joy and contentment in life. I'm sure you've heard about the real true Scotsman fallacy, right? Go on.
Is found in the man who remains loyal and devoted to his family.
You mean a guy on the plantation slaving away for the rest of his life to keep his wifey happy. Okay.
This is not only the more difficult path, but it's the more rewarding path.
Oh.
By far, on both counts.
Okay. Well, maybe in your opinion. No, I don't think you should go out and hose a bunch of women down either. I think that's a horrible way to treat people. Use them and throw them away like the dirty tissue. It's not my thing. And I understand your point of view when it comes to that, but hey, it's Tate's opinion.
Loyalty and humility are both virtues of the truly masculine man, and yet they are virtues that Andrew Tate explicitly militates against. Like he's against those things, and we'll say so.
I don't know about that.
So while he gives young men some good and important advice, he still winds up leaving them ultimately where they began, which is stranded, alone, confused.
You do realize, Matt, Andrew Tate makes money with courses and books and shit, right? You know he's marketing himself, right? If he's not a pickup roach, he's just shy of one. You can go buy his courses. You get it. What is it? The Hustle University. He's got some crap out there on the internet. He's trying to sell this stuff, Matt. You know that. P.T. Barnum.
But the real question that we should be asking in regards to Andrew Tate isn't whether he's right or wrong about everything he says.
Oh, okay. All right.
Rather, the more important question, the more interesting one to me, is why his message resonates to begin with.
Well, you know, that's an interesting point. Why is that? Why do men feel the way they do current year 2023, especially with respect to the dating market? Why do you suppose they have that thought? That basically it sucks. And it's typically only the high value guys like Tate that get all the poon, the pom-pom. Yeah, go ahead.
This is the thing the left never stops to consider, because every time, and Andrew Tate is certainly not the first, won't be the last.
See, we're going to blame everybody here but women, which is pretty standard stuff now, ain't it, boys?
Every time a new figure comes along with a message directed at men, okay, our cultural overlords will swoop in immediately to discredit, destroy, and silence that person.
Except if her name is Pearly Things. Yeah, she basically says the same thing as Andrew Tate, just a little bit more gentle about it. And she's got 1 million+ subs. Yeah, the Matrix hasn't sucked her off the YouTube yet. And I suspect highly she ain't going nowhere. You see what I'm saying, Matt?
Every single time. These self-appointed gatekeepers have never met a man with a message for men who they didn't find problematic and misogynistic.
Well, that's fair. Yeah, you're right. Yes, that's true. I'll give him that.
That's because while Tate may veer off in various wrong directions, as far as his critics on the left are concerned, there is no direction he could take the message that they wouldn't consider dangerous and toxic.
Well, I mean, that's any message about men. Yeah. It's not just Tate. He's just the highest profile visible one right now. Even just lowly old men like me. I've been basically throttled for the last 4 years. I don't do anything nasty. I talk about fembots and various things and dating and crap. Nothing real special. I can't get a new sub for if my life depended on it. It's not just the high profile ones, Matt. You got to understand it's everyone who brings these ideas to the attention of younger men in particular. Trying to open their eyes up, trying to undo all the brainwashing and the lies they've been told about this whole dating business and the oppression of women and all of these things. These young men have been lied to by their mothers, sometimes by their fathers and their grandfathers and grandmothers. They've been lied to. And there are a lot of guys out here trying to say, now, wait a minute, this is what you've been told, but wait a minute, look at this, see what's going on. Even us low grass in the fields, we still get stomped down. Because it's not who's delivering the message, Matt. It's what the message is. And we can't have that. We cannot have people out here saying these things that are actually true about the womankind. We can't say that. We got to squash it. We call them terrorists. We call them white nationalists, white supremacists, Nazis, you name it. And when some idiot does some horrible thing like Toronto or California, they try their damnedest to connect a crazy nut job who lost his brains and went out and did stuff with men saying things about women. That's the way this game is played. They can't objectively They don't have the results. They don't have the data. They don't have the proof to say, you're wrong, Tate, or you're wrong, Hamster, or you're wrong. They don't have it. The facts are in our favor. They know it. So what do? You resort to ad hom. You try to scare the women. See? That's how that works.
Well, there is one. I mean, if he was preaching a gospel of self-loathing to men, if he was telling young men to hate themselves and apologize for being who they are, if he was talking about toxic masculinity, then they would shower him with praise. They'd give him a doctorate, you know, and he'd have a book deal. He'd get glowing interviews on Good Morning America.
Or if he were some kind of gynocentric cock, that also would be praised. Oh my, see, you understand how the holy vagina deserves to be sainted. Yes.
That is the only thing anyone is allowed to say to men. If you're addressing men specifically, okay, in the public sphere, if you're saying, hey, men, and then you continue to have a message for them, the only acceptable message, as far as our culture is concerned, is
you suck.
Shame on you.
Yep.
Stop being that way. Be more like a woman.
Yep. Thank you, Matt. Oh, so he's not totally wrong on this. Go ahead.
And that's precisely why Andrew Tate and guys like him resonate, and they find such an enthusiastic and devoted following. They are speaking to men in a way that isn't resentful, isn't accusatory, isn't condescending. And they are among the only people on the national stage doing that, so the audience naturally goes to them, to the guy who isn't spitting in their face. It kind of makes sense. And as I said at the beginning, a huge percentage of young men are raised in homes where there is no fatherly role model.
But it's not the fault of women. Stop it, Matt. You bugger you.
Often isn't a father present at all. And in so many other cases, there might be.
But of course, it's because men suck, right, Matt?
A father physically present in the home, but he's not present emotionally, spiritually, psychologically.
Okay,
he's not present in any other way. He's just there. He's a lump on a log.
Blame the men for everything, Matt. Just go right ahead. You wonder why Andrew Tate and some people like Hammerhand and some other guys, Undead Chronic, why they resonate with men. Because this is the bull crap we hear. The single mother epidemic is because men are bad. Men are running off. Men are not getting, standing up and taking accountability for their blah, blah, but really? That's the reason. There's no other possible reason why 70% of black children in the United States are born out of... No, it's the men, Matt. Obviously, men, they suck. Now, you're not saying that directly, but that's what you're saying, Matt. You didn't once mention anything about Mama Bear, because Mama Bear's precious. She's right up there next to a picture of Jesus Christ, isn't she? Can do no wrong, pure as the driven snow. Understand? We will keep saying it until you agree with it. Ha! That's the underlying thing, Matt, you're not mentioning. Andrew Tate also points out that women, too, are flawed. Women, too, do stupid things. It's not just men. But that's the problem when you live in a pseudo-matriarchy. One side is all good, and the other side is all bad. And take a guess which side men are on. Just curious, Matt.
So they're not taught how to be men, how to harness their masculinity, how to constructively use all of the energy and aggression that's brimming inside of them.
Excuse me, Matt. Did you actually just admit something there? Did you admit that mothers can't raise sons on their own without a man? Oh, my God.
Out in society, they're greeted with accusations and scorn, and they're told that they must suppress their masculinity, feminize themselves. Then a guy like Andrew Tate comes along and says, no, it's good to be a man. It is good to be tough and strong and masculine.
Sure.
They prefer to listen to him, and they are justified in preferring him, considering the alternatives. The correct response to Andrew Tate, then, isn't to silence him and condemn his followers. It is instead to say, yes, he's right. It is indeed good to be a man.
Yeah.
And then to follow that with a better and clearer vision of what it means to be a man and how a man should behave, what his roles and duties are, what direction he should go.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what these young men are looking for. They're looking for direction and guidance.
Yeah, yeah.
if you don't have that to offer, then just step to the side. They're much better off listening to Andrew Tate than to someone who believes that the best version of a man is a woman.
That's the fembot mantra there, Matt. You got to become more like a woman, and you'll be able to come closer to perfection, even though you won't actually have a vag. Well, you could get as close as you get. You're not going to get as holy as we are, though, says the female. But you can try. You can be a second-rate female or a first-rate man. Take your pick.
What we should be telling young men, what I will and do teach my sons, is that a man has a noble calling to protect and to provide. He is uniquely equipped to fulfill this role.
Yes, he's meant to be a slave to a female. Yes, and the government. Yep, got it.
And was made by God for that purpose. He is a protector. He is a provider. That's what a man is supposed to be.
I see.
That is what every man is supposed to be, every single one.
Oh.
And any man who is not that, who is not doing that, will fall into despair.
Oh, yeah.
Because he is useless.
Did you know you're useless, boys, if you don't have a wife and kid? Oh, yeah, baby.
And the worst thing that a man can be or feel is useless. Nearly every man who has committed suicide, and the suicide rate among young men is increasing.
Crazy high, yeah.
And nearly all of them, it's in part because that's how they felt about themselves. Useless. There's no point to their life. Nothing for them to do.
So, is there any thought process, Matt, on why some of these young men feel useless? No? Don't want to talk about that because that would involve talking about the holy vagina?
So this is what a man is made to be. And most men are meant to find the ultimate fulfillment and expression of that role of protector and provider in the family as father and husband. Not all men, though. Some men are called to serve in another way.
Oh.
But all are called to serve. All are meant to live their lives in service to something greater than themselves. No man is meant to live aimlessly, wandering from place to place, motivated merely by the drive to satisfy his desires from one moment to the next.
But what if a man wants to do that with his life, Matt? So what? Maybe he'll be depressed and unfulfilled. So what? Maybe that's what he wants to do. I mean, whatever. You know, I guess if you to be fulfilled in life as a man, you got to sign a government contract. When it breaks, you're guaranteed to lose half of your crap and your kids and have to pay for a long time. I don't know why that would fulfill me, Matthew. Now, it sounds like you're happily married. You've got a couple of kids on the way. Congratulations. Good for you. I hope your marriage lasts forever. Wonderful. Doesn't always work out that way, though. And I'm sure you're quite aware of some of the divorce laws and various things in this country. We're going to leave that to Undead Chronic coming up at 4 o'clock Central Time.
No man can find fulfillment in that life, but that is the life many are condemned to because they've never been shown another way.
Oh, okay. Or maybe they have been shown another way. Maybe they saw their relatives and their uncles and their dad get hosed by the legal system. Maybe these men are saying, you know, hey, maybe I'm going to do something else. It's possible, I know, but I'm sure they're terrorists or something, right?
Because the cultural powers that be have decided that we're not allowed to show them another way.
Oh.
Our culture tells men that they're not called to do anything in particular, that their sex should have no bearing on what they do or how they interact with the world.
Oh.
And we call this freedom. But it's the sort of freedom you give to a man in the desert by taking away his compass and his map. You take that all away and you say, yeah, see, you're free now to wander and go nowhere and die. That's not freedom. That's despair.
Again, I understand your point here, Matt, but some men just don't want to deal with it. You know, they find fulfillment in other things, hobbies. I don't know. They learn new things. There's a million things you can do in your life. But I do agree it is nice sometimes to, you know, do the family thing, sure. So what we need to do then is change the law. You want more marriages, Matt? We can make that happen. A lot of guys would probably get married if it wasn't so unfair in the event of a split up. You know? I don't think he does.
Which are two things that are very often conflated these days.
Yeah.
Is it any mystery that these wandering men would so eagerly follow the first guy who comes along and seems to know where he's going?
No.
If his map isn't as reliable as he thinks or claims, well, it's better than no map at all.
Well, it's better than your map, I think, Matt, to be honest with you. I mean, we've seen these maps for decades. We know the drill. There's no mystery involved here anymore. We get it. We know, yes, if everything works out and you get married and everything is great and fine, it's wonderful, it's a beautiful thing, family, all that stuff. When it don't, however, in roughly half of the marriages, 50% of those, okay, the number of people getting married, half of those get divorced in the same year. Not the same people, but the numbers work out that way. It's not a good track record, Matt. We could talk about stats all day. You stat sell, 80% of divorces are started by women, et cetera. And so, but we can't blame the Holy V. We cannot do that because that would be against my conservative values.
Because if you're completely lost,
right,
you might as well follow whoever claims to know the way. Even if he takes you in circles, you won't be any worse off. And at least you'll have some company for a while.
Mm-hmm.
We cannot push away all of the people who are trying to guide these young men only to replace their voices with silence. Because that is simply abandonment. And we have abandoned young men.
Now this.
Yep. Well, he's not wrong. He is definitely not wrong in some aspects. In some aspects, it's the same old garbage, isn't it? Oh, get married. You can't be fulfilled in life without that. You got to get back on the plantation.
This isn't scientific, but I did a poll around New York.
That could have
and
been
what
the
people
end of
believed about the Constitution.
Men for far too long. Now let's get to our headlines.
Okay, yeah, that's the end of the segment. So there you go. Matt's talk about Andrew Tate. I mean, he's not 100% wrong. I like to rip him a little bit because he's a conservative trad con or whatever the hell he is. But he does have a very interesting take on marriage. And that's the subject of Undead Chronics live stream coming up at 4:00. I will put the link here in the description. In the chat. So there's the Chronic stream coming up at 4. I don't know if I'll be there. I don't know if Hammer's going to be there, but it's going to be a good roast. Channel 1-800-DUMB. I hardly know who he is. He's a commentator. He does a daily show. He's hooked up with Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire. He's pretty conservative. Normally most of what he says, I think is pretty spot on. Normally. I think he might be a little off in the weeds on this, but I guess we'll see when Chronic roasts him a little bit later. The Godfather. Hello. Godfather is here. Riggs is in the building. MGTOW Outlaw. Hello. You have to understand Matt comes a very religious point of view. Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. And I mean, I understand the religious point of view. I do. I went to Catholic school and, all that stuff. I get it. It's the foundation of the society, people believe, the nuclear family. And that's exactly why the fembots, the Marxists, the socialists, the communists have been trying to destroy that. So you could, in a interesting, I don't know what we want to call it, perverse, but in an interesting way, men who are refusing to get into the contract are actually helping to break down. They're doing the bidding of the socialists, really. This is exactly what the socialists wanted to happen. This is not an accident. This was the plan from the beginning. You can read it in the Communist Manifesto. You could read it in the Frankfurt School people, Marcuse and Gramsci and all these guys. If you're interested in that, a little more hardcore of the beginning of that, I'd recommend James Lindsay. who does a lot of this kind of work and tries to break down this stuff. It gets a little heavy, but he's an interesting guy to listen to. And I can't remember, I can't remember his website at the moment. But just look up James Lindsay. You'll find a lot of that stuff. He was the guy that put together the fake papers and got them in the Fembot journals. They actually accepted fake papers about. They basically rewrote Mein Kampf in a chapter or so of Mein Kampf and replaced everything. Replaced Jewish people with men and et cetera, and it was accepted as an honest paper in some of these journals. Dr. Peterson is another one who wants to get you married. Yeah. Peterson's big on that. Well, I mean, he's going from his experience to some degree, right? He's been married to his wife for 50 years or some crazy. They're like high school sweethearts and all that. It's wonderful. Fig warrior. The problem with the church is feminism. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's it used to be back in the day, right? Hey, Primo Living BC, hello. Good to see you. Rusty Rivers is here. Used to be back in the day when you committed sin, in the Catholic Church, you can go to confession, where you can go and sit down with a priest. Bless me, Father, for I have sinned. My last confession was here. Here are my sins. Then you list out the sins. And then, that's your confession. And with a contrite heart, in other words, you got to really, really be sorry. Look, I screwed up. I did something bad. I did something against God. You say a rosary or 10 Hail Marys or whatever. And the belief system is that God will forgive you then. Okay. But it's with the contrite heart. It's contrition. It's with, I screwed up and I'm not going to do it again. You see. So what do we have today in the current, and I haven't been to church for a long time. Last time I was there, I couldn't believe it. I think I told people this. It's like I walked in on a Sunday, like 10 o'clock, and the women in particular in this church, it looked like they just crawled out of the bar. It was like, how do you dress like this to go to church? I mean, they were looking like, holy, what is this? But today you've got all this God's love and Jesus will save you. And once forgiven, always forgiven kind of Christianity, cafeteria Christianity. I like this part of the Bible, but not that. So I'm not going to pay attention to that. Just the good love and blah, 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 blah. We've all heard the story about Jesus with the prostitute whoever the elders were in the community were going to stone her for committing adultery or for being a prostitute. And, he said, if you ain't got no sin, bro, cast the first stone. And of course, everyone got up and left because everyone is a sinner. Then afterward, Jesus is talking to the woman and says, aren't you going to condemn me? It's like, no. But go and sin no more. Don't do it again. That's kind of Jesus' thing, It's like, hey, we understand you're going to screw up. Everybody screws up. We understand we're God after all. We know you're going to make mistakes. You're human. We understand that. We'll forgive you. Just don't do it again. Right? So there seems to be that part missing. And then you have the wayward daughter coming. Oh, you're single mother, divorced. Hey, come on in. Jesus loves you. Jesus loves you. Yeah, that's true. You can be forgiven of your sins and all that, as we just talked about. But the problem is, that's one thing. But the other thing is, you're still a man, right? Well, you should wife up this wonderful single woman who's 3 different kids from 4 different baby daddies. Like, I don't think so. I think I'll pass on that. Here's my money. I'll put it in the plate. You can do something to support these, but I'm not going to. No, thank you. Thumper, I felt so loved sleeping in my car on active duty. Yeah, lovely, man. That's not good. Our man is here. Sergeant Grinch. Jesus forgives. Marines don't. Yeah, that's the way of it. Mount the Gape Ape is here. Go out and sin no more, baby. Mr. Pliskin, Snaky, Mile High Ronin. All right, guys. Again, the link is in the chat somewhere, and I'll put it there again. Undead Chronic, 4 o'clock today. I'll put it in the community chat as well. We'll see if he invites me on. If not, I'm sure it's still going to be a great roast. Because Matt, I think, is way off on his marriage video. So we'll listen to that here in a couple hours. All right. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. Talk to you in 2 hours over at Undead Chronics. See you later. Bye.